Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined once again by Lyn Ulbricht. So this is one of the most important movements that I've seen happening over the last couple of years, is the Free Ross movement, because it really signifies the importance of freedom, free markets, people being unjustly imprisoned for, I mean, he didn't hurt anybody. He never intended to hurt anybody, and he's basically in there for what other people may or may not have done. It's kind of like criminalizing the guy who invented the internet because, you know, someone on the internet did something wrong. Can you explain briefly for our audience who doesn't yet know somehow what happened to your son, Ross?
Yeah, Ross was convicted and sentenced to double life plus 40 years without the possibility of parole for something he did on the computer when he was 26 years old. He was very much on fire for freedom, free markets, and privacy. And out of that philosophy, put up a platform where people could anonymously exchange things using Bitcoin. But there were things that were prohibited, anything that used force or wasn't voluntary. So, for example, there was no child pornography allowed. There was no stolen property. Things that harmed others directly, but drugs were considered a free choice. Most of the drugs, 75% or so, that were sold were user amounts of cannabis. And for this, he got double life plus 40 years with no parole. Yes, this is a problem. This is an excessive sentence beyond what is, should be in the United States. It's cruel, it's unusual, and it's a political case. The judge even said, "We know you created this site for philosophical reasons, and we're not sure that's a philosophy you've left behind. The philosophy of voluntary interaction, free markets, and that is this dangerous and troubling philosophy," her words, that mean that Ross must be put in a cage for the rest of his life. This is a violation of the First Amendment. And it's something that we should all be concerned about, because it sets a very dangerous precedent for excessive sentencing in this country, which has already gone off the rails. And our prisons are filled to overflowing with people who have excessive sentences.
By the logic of them putting him in prison for the Silk Road, I guess you could use that same logic to, for example, you better ban the streets and arrest anyone who builds roads, because someone on those streets might do something that we don't like. Better stop, all these high schools from having a smoking section at the back where everyone buys their weed and all that kind of. It's so incredibly absurd to me, because where do you draw the line there? I mean, if you're going to draw the line around Ross, might as well raise it higher and higher and higher, and then just say anyone that is in any way knows anyone that might smoke pot or something, they better go to jail, because they are allowing this to happen. They're not telling the government about it. It's so absurd. I've made the point before about an apartment complex and the landlord going to jail because, I don't know, someone within the building is selling pot. Does that mean that the landlord should go to jail? Of course not. But again, where do you draw that line? So I wanted to ask you, who have been the most important supporters of the Free Ross petition? And because this petition has just absolutely taken off. Over 100,000.
Over 122,000.
Over 122,000. If you haven't signed that petition, by the way, you got to go sign that petition. We will have it linked below, of course, as always. But who have been the most important supporters of this? Because I know there have been a ton of people supporting this petition.
Yeah, well, of course, the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency community has rallied behind Ross because they understand that it was really about Bitcoin is what they were really after. And I won't go into all the reasons why I think that, but the biggest drug seller on Silk Road got 10 years. So, that just demonstrates that they're not that worried about drugs. It's Bitcoin. And at the time, it was very threatening and revolutionary. And so that community, the Libertarian and Liberty communities, Libertarian Party, officially at their convention, came out for a pardon for Ross, asked for a pardon for Ross. And then we have other people, such as people who care about criminal justice reform, because he's a poster boy for excessive sentencing. Legal people in the legal world, because they see that it's a violation of the Constitution in so many ways, in due process. So there's been a lot of people, but I'd say probably overall arching the cryptocurrency community and the libertarian liberty community.
I know very few people that actually agree with what happened to Ross, and the people who agree don't really know anything about the case, really. I find it's mostly people, most of the people who don't understand. I've seen a few people on Twitter, but you find a lot of interesting people on Twitter. We all know that. But overall, I mean, I was saying to you before we did this video, Lyn is like the most popular person at these events, always in demand, because I think the vast public realizes this isn't just wrong, this is tyranny. I mean, the idea of throwing someone in a cage for this many years is just despicable. It's a nightmare. And I can't imagine what you go through on a regular basis. So, I mean, it's incredible all the work you're doing to free your son. I can't imagine you wouldn't. I mean, it's a close issue to you, obviously. What is the latest news as we're going forward here? Is there any potential, news coming up in the near future to possibly get Ross out? I mean, what's going on?
It's really more of a day-by-day, one step at a time process. It's a lot. We're working on, if anyone has political connections that they can tell me, someone in the world of politics in Washington, D.C., please get in touch with me through freeross.org. Please sign and share the petition at freeross.org. There's a banner you can just click. If you're not, if you don't understand the case, there's something called Railroaded on there that's based on the public record with almost 400 footnotes. It's not stuff we've made up. It's all right there, and it's quite educational in terms of how the criminal justice system works. You can listen to it or read it and help us change the narrative on social media, because he has been smeared in the media. He's been accused, and then they dropped it, of planning murder for hire, but they never brought it to trial. They never convicted him, and yet the media and social media think people get on there and say, well, he did that. And I'm like, won't we have trials and proof and juries anymore? Or is it just all trial and lynching by social media and politicians like Chuck Schumer? I mean, so please spread the word. On freeross.org, there's a take action page. You can get a hold of me. And if you have skills we could use, of course, we always need money, because it's all set up that you've got to have lawyers, and they are very expensive people. And so that's another thing. But so many ways. But the petition is key, and contacts are key.
I wanted to, before we close it off, we're here in Miami, of course, for the North American Bitcoin Conference, hence the giant Bitcoin behind us. And there's a Bitcoin museum here. And I mean, okay, so this is incredible. You got a makeup of Ross's cell in there. The difference is, for us, we can walk in and we can walk out, and Ross can't. But it puts a little bit into perspective. Imagine being in that space for the amount of time that he has. It's unthinkable. I can't even imagine a day, never mind years and years. What do you think about this Bitcoin museum that we got here at this event?
I love it. It's fabulous. It's so interesting. It's each room, it's a series of rooms. It's an installation, really. I got to sit on the throne that says, I am Satoshi Nakamoto over my head. But no, it was great. And there's a room showing, a lot about Bitcoin, but in a very clever and creative way. And then you walk into Ross's room, and it's like walking into a cell. But it's so moving, and they have videos of Ross as who he really is, playful, sweet. And they have those. They even have the little apple seed plant, Schubert's on there. It's like they've really put a lot of thought and creativity into this whole project, not just Ross's room. And it's really cool to walk through it, and it's really, isn't it? It's so clever, and
it's excellent. Really, we need this at all these events, really. And I have to ask, though, as we close this off, I mean, it's obviously not worth it for you and your family, but what do you think of Ross as this historical icon now? Because he has become an icon for what he's been going through. Obviously, for you and your family and everything, it's by far not worth being an icon. But what do you think about the impact that he's had on this whole community and so millions of people around the world?
Yeah. Well, yeah, people have told me that he, if it weren't for Ross, they wouldn't have made all the money they've made of Bitcoin. They never even heard of Bitcoin. And that he's maybe the second most important figure in Bitcoin history after Satoshi Nakamoto, because it was really the first proof of concept that it could actually be used as a currency, that it was a viable thing. So I think that's all good. And Ross continues to be very enthusiastic about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I do too. I mean, it seems to me that it's kind of a basic of freedom that you should be able to choose your means of exchange. So I think it's good on that, putting aside my personal feelings, because I would, if I could go back to talk to the Ross, I'd be like, "What are you thinking?" I bet he was very idealistic. It was about privacy and freedom for him. It was not about being a kingpin or any of that. That's what Ross is about. And he was 26 years old. It's kind of like you put somebody away for life for something he did when he was 26 years old, that had no victims, made to trial at all, and that there's no violence. It's like he's not accused of harming anyone. And this is very dangerous for us all. This sets a terrible precedent in our courts, and it needs to be reversed. It needs to be. He needs to be out. He needs to be commuted.
He's lost a lot of very important years. He's still got so many years to go, so let's get him out. FreeRoss.org, absolutely. FreeRoss.org, and of course send him some love letters there on Twitter, because I can't imagine, being in a prison cell, it's pretty good to be able to have some communication with the outside world. What's the name of his Twitter handle again?
@RealRoss, and then the letter U, @RealRossU. And he can't get on the internet, but he can write them in a letter to someone who's putting up, not me, but someone else. And he wanted people to know who he really is. He wanted to have a voice after all the years of reading about himself in the media. It's like, that's not me. That's not me. And so it's been great for him. And then, the petition. Please sign and share that petition.
FreeRoss.org, sign the petition, send him a message on Twitter, and I really thank you for everything you do. It's just really incredible, so thank you very much for joining us again.
Absolutely, anytime. I'm always happy to talk to you, Josh. Yeah.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored on YouTube, as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. Also, check out our Bitcoin address below, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also check us out at steemit.com. We're at Josh Sigurdson. It's a future of social media where you get paid in the upvote of your post in cryptocurrency. Steem, that is. So make sure to check us out there. Make sure to join us at Anarchapulco 2019 with people like Ron Paul, G. Edward Griffin, of course, Jeff Berwick, Vid Jedlicka. So many incredible speakers are going to be speaking. It's just a massively growing event. It is something you have to see to believe. So make sure to check it out below and save money on your tickets by using promo code WAM, that's WAM, and I hope to see you there. Also, check out our newsletter as we are getting demonetized and censored and all that. We don't know what comes next, so we have an email, worldalternativemedia@gmail.com. Send us an email with subject line YES, YES, and we will include you in the newsletter, where we will continuously keep you updated. So until next time, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.
Bye.